God just knew that I needed to be brought into that family and paired with being presented the gospel. And it was just, that's what changed my life.
How do you find and keep hope alive?
I will find hope in what Jesus Christ did for me.
Do we believe?
My hope is centered totally, completely in Him.
Do we trust?
I have hope today because of what Jesus did on the cross.
His hope doesn't change.
Hope is triumph in our triumph.
Hello, I'm Beth on the Light FM, and this is what hope sounds like. I'm actually so honored to have the chance to bring this conversation to the world. There's a young woman we're going to get to spend some time with who really grew up with so much instability, but that instability led her to find her faith and her family and her voice. Hello, Carly Ann Taylor.
I'm so excited to be here.
You are always excited about everything.
I am always excited.
We love your energy. We love you.
Thank you.
I should say aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, because
Yes.
you started your entire life in Hawaii,
Yes.
in a town called, an island called Kona. And for most of us, we think Hawaii is paradise, beautiful, exotic. But boy, that is not what your upbringing was about.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. It
I'm so
is
sorry.
very beautiful there. But yeah, I was born and raised on the big island of Hawaii, in Kona, and grew up in a lot of dysfunction, was around just a lot of alcoholism, drug abuse, lots of different forms of abuse, and that was my experience growing up as a kid.
You're just this little Carly Ann.
Yes, I've always been very petite. I am 100 pounds and 5'2", and I have been that way very small my entire life, going through all of these monster experiences. Yeah.
Big
No.
words.
Yep.
Monster experiences.
Yeah.
When you were 7 years old, actually, you were taken from your house.
Yeah. I was taken from Child Protective Services, went through that whole experience of being taken from my biological mom and just the trauma that comes with that, not understanding what's going on, especially at that age, 7. I was in second grade, and I was taken to school every day by a CPS officer, taken, from school every day. I had monitored visits with my biological mother, with 2 police officers at the entrance and the exit, and just kind of going through that experience.
Did you understand? What did you understand? How did that feel inside for being so young?
I don't think I understood. It was just a very traumatic experience. Just being brought into a room and asked questions, kind of almost like an interrogation, as nice as they possibly could. I do remember that experience, like from my memory very clearly, of being in the room, with I don't know what they're called, the people that ask you the questions, having me drawing pictures of certain things that they had heard about, and just kind of going through that experience it felt very confusing as a kid. Now I kind of have an understanding of things as an adult, but I know like there's certain things that still are very traumatizing for me that I get triggered by. Just learning more about myself as time goes on, different experiences that I have as an adult can trigger a lot of those memories and just triggering those feelings that, I had as a kid. But the Lord has been faithful to help me heal from a lot of those things.
Praise God.
Yeah.
You've been singing since you were 3.
Yes.
And during that time, you say that music was your escape.
Yes, it was like a lifeline for me. It was, music is so special because it's a universal language, right? And it's so specific, music is such a specific thing because we feel certain things that we can't necessarily express. And I feel like that is so telling of the Lord and just the spiritual side of music. And so growing up, music just felt different. It felt, it was the only thing that was helping me to hang on throughout all of those situations. And I felt like when when I would get on stage and when I was given those couple of minutes where everybody was just quiet and I could, express myself through whatever lyrics I was singing, but just the emotion of being able to be myself and express myself. I learned how to do that at a very young age, emotionally being able to express myself on stage. And that's really the only thing that helped me to hang on, especially in the later years of my childhood.
And of course, you couldn't know then what God was preparing you for now.
Oh, no, not at all. When I was 15, my whole life got flipped upside down. I got a phone call from an older brother of mine who I didn't grow up with. I have a bunch of different siblings. Some of them I grew up with, some I didn't. And he's about 16 years older than me, got married really young. And he just called me one day. I didn't even have his number saved in my phone. Like, that's how kind of distant our relationship was. And he called and he said, "Hey, Carly, it's your brother Randy. You've been on my heart, and I want you to come to California next week to visit him and his family for the summer." And that happened to be the phone call and the trip that changed my life completely. And just I continued, in that dysfunction, just being exposed to a lot of those horrible things as a kid. And that was the time in my life where it was the breaking point for me. I tried taking my life multiple times and just going through a lot. And, God knew when I had come to the end of myself, and he came and saved me, literally took me off of that island and brought me into a home where I was taken in and my whole life was restored.
He
with a new
literally
family.
Took you off that island.
Literally
God
took me off an island.
took you off the
Yes.
island of Kona in Hawaii.
Yes. It's crazy.
But God, right?
But God.
I want to unpack that story because it sounds so
Yeah.
simple, but there's
It does.
all these little tiny,
Oh,
big,
yes.
big
So much
pieces.
healing, so much working through so many things, and I continue to do
Sure.
all of that.
Sure. Okay, so let's go back to just being a little girl,
Yeah.
being taken from your home, and there was all these years of wondering what. And as we talked about fostering,
Yeah.
as we sit in the state of North Carolina, there are 11,000 children who are waiting to get placed in foster care.
That's crazy.
And just thinking of that experience that you yourself can really speak from being a child
Yeah.
in the system, what would your words be to people right now about the importance of fostering?
Oh, I think it's so important because it changes the trajectory of someone's entire life. And the thing about like a child going through these things to where they have to be removed from their home is already traumatizing enough. And that's, I think taking in a child, adopting them, giving them a new chance, a new life, a new beginning, a lot of the things that, a child goes through, it's not their fault. And that's the hard part is like children grow up into becoming adults, and they, believe the lie that those things were their fault, or they were never wanted, they were never, chosen, or whatever lies that I have honestly struggled with. And I just think that if you have it on your heart to adopt a child, if you don't have it on your heart, I'm telling you right now, you got to have it on your heart. But just like the fact that you have the ability to change one kid's entire life. And for me, like, I am able to sit here today as a living, breathing, walking testimony of the Lord's faithfulness. And I am able to share this message, share the gospel with so many people all around the world, and just watch like how God just transforms people's lives. And you have no idea the plans that the Lord has for every single one of those little kids. It makes me like, it is so hard to think of a child like being abandoned, and and I think that it roots from broken parents too that have experienced really difficult things, didn't know how to heal from those things, and it just kind of this constant cycle of brokenness. But being someone that can adopt a child, you are breaking those cycles and giving a new life for a child that you could watch the Lord do exceedingly and abundantly more, and thousands of people could be saved from that, just that in and of itself. So I'm very passionate about adoption. I hope to be able to adopt kids when when I'm in that season of life. But yes, it's very important.
And there are two people in your life that said yes to God bringing you into their life in that way. And we're going to need Kleenex here pretty soon,
yes,
aren't we? Yeah.
I know. I'm already like, I was not expecting that.
So you get this call, the call that changed your life from your half-brother, Randy,
Yes.
who says, come and spend the summer with us. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I was stoked. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, summer after my freshman year of high school. I was like, I want to go. And, at that time I was getting involved in all the wrong crowds. So, I went to California thinking that I was going to have the time of my life and probably make a lot of bad decisions. And I went to California, and God had an entire different story completely written for me, and I accepted the Lord the first time I ever heard the gospel. I shot my hand up and knew that, like, deep in my heart, the cry that I would cry out when I was alone by myself, God met me exactly in that. And I shot my hand up the first time I ever heard the gospel. And on top of it all, like, God brought me into a loving family to show me what unconditional love was, because growing up, it was very transactional for me. And, like, singing, like, performing, it was always, anytime I would do that, that's when I would get affirmation. Mm-hmm. That's when I would get affection or feel wanted or feel loved. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. A child should be unconditionally loved. And I think because I didn't have that experience, growing up, God knew, and he put me into a Brazilian home. And they're very affectionate and loving and hospitable, and they just, like, give hugs and kisses all the time and have amazing food. And so God just knew that I needed to be brought into that family and paired with being presented the gospel. And it was just, that's what changed my life.
Love it. Love, love, love it. So Randy calls, and then we went to church, but a lot had happened in the middle of that church.
Yeah.
There came a time where you said, hey, I have a new mom and dad.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear that story, but I want to hear it with your mom sitting next to you, okay?
Yes, okay.
Can we invite Tassia into the This Is What Hope Sounds Like podcast? Yay, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hello.
It's really, really, really beautiful to meet you. Let me just, you're so beautiful. I met you for a few minutes, and I just love the love immediately. Love the love, and you can just see how you look so beautiful together.
Thank you. My mom's my best friend. I'm going to give you this mic.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Big responsibility.
Let's just go to your house so you can cook us some Brazilian food.
Sounds good. Actually, you might want my mom to do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, the grandma got it down.
So your husband says, hey, I'm going to call this half-sister and invite her to come for the summer.
Yeah, he actually saw a video of her singing on YouTube. It was Paper Hearts by Tori Kelly. And you could just see the sadness in her eyes. And he looked at me and, like, I would love to bring her out for the summer. And I'm like, let's do it. So he called her, and it was an immediate yes. So, and she came into our lives, and she thinks that we changed her life, but really she changed ours. Like, we needed her, to come and complete us as much as she needed us in her life. So it was a very easy but hard yes. Like, the mission was clear. The Lord really put it in our hearts when she first got there that it was like that was the missing piece of our family. Wow. So that was a summer guest that going on 10 years now.
What's happening?
I never left. It's been almost 10 years.
Talk about long-term guest.
So, and you already had children.
Yes, I had a couple of them at the time. I had Tommy, and he was 6. Yeah, he wasn't 7 quite yet. So it was the summer before he turned 7. And Levi was 2. So we had 2 little boys. And then we, brought on a teenage girl. I had no experience whatsoever with raising a girl. And it was, a new dynamic. Because when you're pregnant, you have all the stages of, like, you find out about the baby, and then you see your body changing, and then eventually the baby arrives, like all the stages. But then you have a teenager, of almost, full grown person dropped in your lap. I was like, here, now you have to steward this heart and this mind and this life. And, coming someone that came with so much brokenness, it was just very obvious. She was not one, like she mentioned, I'm Brazilian, born and raised in Brazil. Our family is extremely affectionate. We are very loud, very, embracing. And she came into that not even being able to be hugged or be loved on. And she would literally look at me and say, what do you want from me? If I displayed any affection. And even just like getting her basic toiletries at a grocery store and bringing it home. And she would look at me like, why are you doing all these things, And for me, it was just natural. I was like, well, you're in my home. I am going to embrace you as my own. And all of the kids are going to be treated the same. So,
What was the hardest thing to unlearn from Hawaii?
To unlearn.
When you realized, I'm in this normal place, but yet it doesn't feel normal.
I mean, I still work on just the whole unconditional love and transactional love. I still have a hard time because of the way that I was raised, where like a question that I like asked my mom is like, do you still love me? And I like try to just like the past couple of years especially, because for me is like anytime I was in trouble, it was very transactional. And so that's what I was used to my entire life. And I find myself defaulting back to that sometimes. And I have to just remind myself, no. It has been this long already. But there's still things like when you learn in your childhood, those are the most important years of your development. And those are the things that you learn as a child you're going to take into your adulthood. And it's extremely hard to break a lot of those habits or relearn things. And that is something for me that I am like still like I need to constantly remind myself that I am unconditionally loved by the Lord and also unconditionally loved by my family. Like they chose to keep me and to finish raising me and to love me and to provide for me. And they continue to do that today. I still live at home. I'm 24. I still proudly live at home. And me and my little sister were roommates. She's my best friend. And I'm just living in an abundance of love and joy and acceptance. And that's just something that has always been like a tricky thing for me, because you can't always listen to your feelings. You have to remind your feelings what the truth is. And I think, sometimes I say, you still love me? I know you still love me. I just want to hear it. Maybe I didn't hear it enough growing up and I need to hear it double time, So that's something that I'm still working through.
So you loved her back to life.
yeah.
How beautiful to represent God in that way.
Yeah.
Speak about
It
the
was-
hope in that.
For me, it was the easy and hard, yes. The responsibility. For me, it was just like so clear that the calling was that. And I really believe that, first of all, my resources are the Lord's. I'm just here to steward it. And knowing that she was living the way she was and not stepping up to help, like as a Christian, it just went against everything I knew to be true. And that represented, Jesus. How can I call him my Lord and then believe scriptures and then send her back to, the conditions that she came. So it was a matter of consistency and just, showing her that, it wasn't transactional. I didn't want anything from her other than to see her well, and I just really do think that she just had a foundation there that needed to be. It's like the seed was there, and she needed to be cared for, watered, and that love poured on her, so she could. We didn't do anything magical. Like I didn't, brainwash her. It was literally just showing the love of the Lord consistently in sacrificially. I'm a believer that in the or a lot of people say, the greatest commandment is like love your neighbor as yourself. But I feel like the Lord calls us to a higher standard, which is love like Jesus. A new commandment I give you is love like I have loved you. When Jesus says that, it's sacrificial love. And what is it to sacrifice? For me, it was to open my home to receive my brother's sister, and raise her, finish raising her as one of my own children, and just see what the Lord could do to, with her life and through her. It was nothing that I did or my husband. It was literally just us saying the yes.
Speak into that a little bit too. It was still a whole transition in and of itself, seeing them as my mom and my dad too. And I think that, I want to speak on that specifically because if you adopt a child, it might not be automatic that they even understand what's going on or feel that way about you, even though you become their legal, parents. Sometimes it is difficult for a child to understand because a lot of times you just see your biological parents abandoning you. And it's very hard, especially as a kid, not understanding how everything works and just still learning so much in life to understand that. It was a big transition for me. I did not see them as my mom and my dad. I had a hard time seeing them as authority in my life. I didn't even know what authority even looked like. And so learning that, and there was just like a really, another really big God thing that happened in my life. I went to a summer camp, the summer before my senior year of high school, and God just spoke so clearly to me in so many ways. And I went back just completely like a whole new lens of everything in my life and understanding what the Lord had been doing. And that was the beginning of seeing them as my mom, like truly as my mom and my dad. And now I don't see it any other way. It's just weird. Like, you're not my sister-in-law. I'm very sorry. That's kind of weird. Yeah, you're my mom, And so I just say that to hopefully encourage, because I can only imagine certain situations where it's like parents are stepping out and taking this really big leap of faith. It is not a walk in the park to take in a child into your home. And I know that, especially as a teenager, and you might not see the result right away of what you're expecting it to look like. But now I'm on the other side of it, and I've walked through all of those different, what would you call it? Those different kind of processes. Mm-hmm. And I'm on the other side of it, and I see them as my mom and my dad, and I'm learning how to be a daughter, even when there was no example for me as a child. And now I'm living in the middle, or I'm living on the other side of kind of that entire journey, but living in the middle of just like the freedom and the redemption and the joy of the Lord through all of that.
Redemption is your word.
Yes.
One of them for sure. Yes. You recognized the gift of the journey you were given.
Oh, yeah. It's the biggest blessing that happened to our family was, aside from also our biological children, being a mom is, just being able to represent the Lord. I think the fact that God gave us the ability to parent, it's just remarkable. Just like create life, just like steward life, minds and hearts. So for me, just is the biggest gift, and now seeing what the Lord is doing through her story and being so proud, and just like, how the Lord delights himself in us.
Yes.
We get to do that with our own children.
Yes.
What a better way to do it than, just opening our hearts and saying the yes to the Lord, the calling that he had. This might not be for every single person out there. But if you're feeling the calling to, embark in a journey like this, it changed our lives for the better, and I cannot imagine existing without Carly. Every single one of the kids don't really know life without her. We don't want to imagine it. She brings this element of joy and excitement to the home, because she's this bubbly self,
a spark, right?
Yes,
everywhere she goes.
And it's like that every day. I mean, sometimes if she doesn't sleep enough, or
I'm a human, okay? I can't be like this all the time.
You gave her another really big gift as well. So Carly comes to visit. She's still there. And you go to church. Your family starts to meld into this beautiful family. You guys are just so glowy. I love it. And it's not skincare.
It's Jesus care. Jesus care.
Jesus care.
Make that into content.
There we go. College happens. You're studying music, production, vocal. You come to the end of that. There's a lot in the middle there, we know. In fact, my daughter just graduated grad school.
Wow.
And she was warning me as she was getting near the end of it. She's like, I'm getting a little worried. I don't know what's going to be next. And I'm like, finish strong. God's got you. But still, at the end, she was so off. She was so out of sorts after graduation because she didn't have the job. She didn't know the plan. She wanted her Oompa Loompa now, It was really a difficult place for her. And then comes your story about your college crises. And then comes your big gift.
Yep. Okay, man. What a lot of life to live in just such a small amount of
We need to do a movie of her life.
Let's do it. Yes. Okay. So similar experience to her. It was really, really challenging, especially growing up the way that I did, really never knowing what the outcome of my life was going to be, because it was always so much dysfunction and uncertainty. And God saved me, pulled me out of that. And then, a lot of in-betweens. But graduating college was really challenging for me. I wasn't myself, went into this kind of life crisis, not understanding where God was leading me, and having to be still was really difficult, especially coming out of a season of work, grind, get school done, and kind of just the excitement of all of that. And then coming into a new season of my life, knowing exactly what God has called me to do, but how to get there, and not knowing what the next step was, really put me into just this depression and fear of my future, filled with anxiety. And my mom encouraged me with scripture from Matthew 6, reminding me, he takes care of the birds in the air, the lilies in the field. Why should I worry about what I eat? Why should I worry about what I wear? Seek first his kingdom, and, all else is going to follow. And just kind of trying to learn to live in that and trust. And then her and my dad gifted me the production of one song with a dream producer of mine for my graduation gift, and that was basically it. Did the song. I brought 3 songs to him to show, and none of them were finished. The last song I showed him was Why Should I Worry? And he was like, oh, let's do that one. And so then I got to finish writing it with him and my dad, and finished the song just throughout that summer. Got to experience a real experience with the producer, and in school I had studied, for production, so I got to have my own experiences.
It was crazy because I really know God gave her this song specifically, not only for her and our family, to constantly remind us, because we don't come from this background of pursuing music, and all this has happened because the Lord was like, okay, this is what I want you to do, and I'm opening the door. I'm not going to take credit for the idea of the gift, okay? Because I was like,
great gift.
How about we give her a microphone or something, to celebrate.
Yeah.
She went through all of that, came out of it. And I mean, for me, since the moment she stepped foot in our house, I knew the Lord had a huge calling in her life. Knew it. And she kept thinking I'm gonna straight out of high school maybe try out for American Idol. I was like, well, I fully support you in your calling in music and worship, But I want you to do this the right way, the sustainable way. The Lord says in scriptures to play your instruments skillfully, which means go seek an education in this. You don't want to go into an industry that's notoriously hard and be chewed up, the second you stepped on the stage. I want you to be able to, be well-rounded, write music and command a band and be able to, be confident in what you're doing. So I would really love if you sought an education and, you don't know your future. You want something to fall back on. You don't want to go back to school when you're in your 40s with your children, and things are more difficult.
Sure.
Right now is a time for that. There's a time for everything in its season. Right now is a time for you to go to school and do that. Get it out of the way. Even if you don't love it, you're going to be thankful, So a question I always ask her and all my children is, what does 30, 40, 50-year-old Carly want you to do today to be where they want to be, So trust me, 40-year-old Carly is going to be happy. She doesn't have to go to school.
So nice.
24-year-old Carly is happy.
This wisdom that's now on the road with you, touring around with your song. I mean, same for you. Who would have thought? Who would have thought the Lord knew, and your obedience really has brought your daughter to this place? Smile at the people and say, this is what hope looks like. For real.
This is what hope looks like.
Yeah. Share your socials so that we can follow you and your mom on the road.
You can follow me on all social media platforms. Carly is Music, or just look up my name, Carly Ann Taylor. And also streaming platforms, Carly Ann Taylor. I have a lot of new music coming out, and I'm very excited. And then I told you should have made a manager account. People want to follow you.
I don't have her post. I'm always showing up on her reels at some cameo appearance.
We look forward to more of those.
Always on the road, I'm carrying her Converse everywhere. Bag full of shoes.
Careful what you pray for.
Right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. I tell her, Carly, you're living right now in your answered prayers.
Yeah.
Especially the shoes.
Yeah.
Especially the shoes. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Thank you for just listening to the Lord and being these people that you are. We are just excited to meet you and to be blessed by everything you do. Mom, you're so good.
I could not do any of this without her.
Amen. Couldn't do it all without the Lord.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for everything. One more time, this is what hope sounds like.